bangtan. What is your unpopular opinion about BTS or anything related to BTS? Vocal lines. Vocal technique really sucks and they have a lot of improving to do. Totally agree. They need a serious vocal coach, because each vocalist has innate talent, and they're all being done a fairly big disservice. I remember hearing V sing Oh Happy Day, when he was working with the gospel lady on American Hustle Life, and just being blown away by his vibrato and by how full his voice really is when properly used. /u/a Black Unicorn points out, they have innate talent. I love Jimin's vocal timbre, for one, but I think they could go a lot further with different, better vocal technique. In a related note, I think that Jin is actually the best vocalist of the singers, not Jimin, and BTS is using him the least because they don't know what to do with his voice. It's better for them in the long run. If they keep using improper technique, it'll give them a lot of grief in the future. Bigot needs to invest in a seriously good coach. I love how they look right now, but enough with the dyeing of the hair, their poor scalps and roots and ends. But damn do I love blonde uni, he's perfect. And I'd know I like mint uni better. Also, a friend of mine said she'd like to see a mix of blonde and light pink uni, and I agree, damn it. I appreciate this thread. It's refreshing to hear things other than glowing praise all the time. Keeps our love for this group as real as possible. My unpopular opinions, personality-wise, I think Jungkook is kind of a hole. What redeems him for me is that the members obviously adore him, and that clearly I don't know what he's really like apart from what I'm shown. Even this Jimin stan is tired of hearing his high notes. Speaking of high notes, I actually don't like Let Me Know. Sugar has produced much better songs. LMK is too busy and yet ultimately pretty boring, and I cringe every time Jimin reaches for the note at the end. I hate when fans get possessive over any of the boys in any way, or say they don't want to see them date anyone. This is on my mind especially lately with the Day 6 news. I like BTS so much that I can't wait for them to find happiness sometime soon. It's clear that they would like it themselves. I really can't think of too many more. I don't have many gripes when it comes to BTS. I see JK more of as a teenager. It just feels like he is still in that stage, and since he became famous during it, I can see how difficult the transition is even more. Quote, personality-wise, I think Jungkook is kind of a hole. I've noticed a lot of non-fans say this as well, and personally, I've never really noticed it. What kind of examples do you have for this? Not an attack on you or anything, just curious. I'm with you on this. Quote, personality-wise, I think Jungkook is kind of a hole. As a Jungkook stan, I have noticed this. Because he's really good at sports, he gets arrogant about how good he is, kinda cocky. Also, he tends to get competitive during games. A bit too competitive. It puts me off as well. I genuinely agree with all of these except for 3 and partly 1. LMK was admittedly one of the first songs that made me genuinely interested in BTS, haha. I am a bit more forgiving of JK because he reminds me of such a fresh, young child, lol. On a related tangent, I find the other members' one-sentence descriptions of JK really interesting in this interview. I know from watching and reading a few things that Cookie is quite serious, but I didn't think that the other members would go so far as to describe him as being like a Hyung. I always figured that they doted on him because of his golden Maknae status and eagerness to prove himself, at least, that was my impression of him, so reading this really took me off guard. Edit: I actually read that interview incorrectly, at least regarding the one-sentence descriptions. They were actually Jungkook's descriptions of the other members, not the other way around. No wonder he was calling everybody Hyung, ha ha ha. Thank you to Motionless Min for correcting me. So much for shedding more light on JK. Personally, I think Jungkook needs to continue rapping. I know people say he's not a real rapper and he's not as good as the other 3 and his voice is beautiful, so he should just stick to singing, But for me, I think it's something he should do from time to time, but sure, not always. During that Mill era he just sang, and it was good. But he can rap, and I think Big Hit should continue showcasing that. It's like something you're not expecting, but out of the blue comes a Jungkook rapping verse in one of the songs and you'll love it. It keeps an element of surprise and showcases his diverse skill set. On a related note, I think they should let J-Hope sing more. He has a good mid-range singing voice, and just to F people up, they should have a random song in their next album where he sings a lot. I realize the importance of sticking to what you're good at, but sometimes it's not bad to surprise people and show them you can do other things as well. I agree about J-Hope, but I don't get what you see in Jungkook's rap. He's had a few rap parts and they all kinda sound the same. Yeah, he can pronounce everything quickly, but his voice is missing something. I don't wanna call it swag. I can't really explain it, but it's flat. And maybe not deep enough, so it sounds like a child is rapping. Would you honestly listen to a song if it's just him rapping and a nice beat? The rap line has quite a lot of experience to have gotten to the level they're at now. Even though he's a fast learner, I don't think Jungkook's rap is gonna be good enough to put in an album song. And BTW, I think this is the unpopular opinion lol, because I've seen a lot of people say he can sing, he can dance and he can rap. Lately they've been acting like how fans expect them to act too much. I get why they're doing it with their popularity rising and all, but it's kinda boring knowing exactly how they're going to answer questions during interviews, act on varieties, etc. Their public personas are becoming a bit one-dimensional. I feel like this has been nagging me on the inside for a while now. I fell for bangtan because of their more unrestrained, maybe not the right word, personalities. Lately, I can definitely feel a more professional, but also one-dimensional vibe coming from them. I understand a lot of it has to do with their rising popularity and the need to maintain a pleasant image, but I guess I just miss some of their more uncensored comments. I love Jope and how he brings up the mood, but sometimes it's too much. By too much I mean way too much. He acts insane and overly dramatic, and it can honestly be annoying. It can feel so forced and unnatural at times. Still love him though. I agree with you. I love Jope a lot, but sometimes I feel like he acts really loud when it's unnecessary, or when he laughs sometimes I feel like it's forced. I hope it isn't because of his label of being J-Hope. I think he truly is the bundle of positiveness when he's being himself. Honestly, it's sad. Both Jope and Jin have expressed feeling limited because of their concept. Jope said on VAP it's hard being hopeful all the time, and Jin apologized for not keeping up the cool guy images his company gives. I'm not really comfortable with how some BTS stans take things so seriously. Seeing some fans cry for days over one of the members catching a cold, or over-analyzing this picture of, for example, Uni with his face slightly turned into a grimace, then posting 3 paragraphs about his deep internal struggles followed up by 4 paragraphs about their eternal devotion for him. Then again, I stan BTS for fun, so I can't really relate. Lol, I love this comment. I completely agree. I love BTS more for the members than their songs, but when people write long paragraphs on how BTS is so deep or different than any other K-pop group, I find it weird. I like the praise for BTS, but not to that extent where the group are perceived as gods or higher power than other groups. Some fans need to calm down lol. I don't care how many lines V or Gin gets. But producers have been better about finding ways to make V's voice fit. Jin still gets short shrift because he's not really necessary, vocally. With 7 members in a 4-minute song, it's unavoidable, but BTS does better than most. I became an RM stan because of his mixtape and his more adult image. With BTS, all of the Hyung line is in a perpetual state of youth that is getting a bit old. I want them to be able to mature in their image, hopefully this year. Sugar stans think he walks on water, and it's kind of annoying tbh. I want rap line and hip-hop to stay at the forefront of BTS's music. I'm glad BTS doesn't have power singers because rap line stays at the forefront this way. I don't care about BTS trying to appeal to Korea's masses. I like them, mostly, the way they are, and I don't want them to change too much. And I want Cypher's back. I know RM caught a lot of hell for sounding black. I even saw one of the older guys on Problematic Men clown him for it. Since then, and the Australia press bummer, his English accent has run the gamut of goofball with a high pitch to now this weird hip-hop-ish version that makes the poor baby sound like he has marbles in his mouth. He's absolutely to be commended for still trying, as others don't at all, but it seems like his self-confidence has taken a huge hit in this area, understandably, and I wish he would settle with something he is comfortable with and fuck everyone else. Ps. Regarding the mess in Australia and then NYC, there's a clip of Vixx playing Pictionary, and when Leo was supposed to draw their lead Ren, he just made a big black circle on a body, because they all think he's so dark. It made more sense, but wow. I will probably get dragged for this, but oh well. Here goes. Maybe it's just me and how I've been exposed to boy band fandoms, but I think it's tiring to always complain about unequal line distribution. I mean, it's not always the case. When you compare it with other groups, I'm just glad that they have relatively more equal distribution than anyone else's. I'm kind of glad that they're still going with that youth concept. I was kind of wondering that it might be too fast to move on to more adult stuff, and eventually run out of concepts to do if they're going with that trajectory. Now, not the right time, with all the young fans out there. I'm still hoping that they'll do adult stuff like what Winner did but I think we have to wait a little longer until the fandom matures. Am I the only one who's not bothered with them catering to fans? As long as they keep on improving, release good music, healthy and safe, happy, and respectful to fans, then I'm good. I'm happy when they're happy. As simple as that. I think only Bangtan is a place where we could do this without getting bashed left and right for opinions. Bless you guys. So, here we go with mine. The vocal line doesn't need to be good, because Bangtan is, in the end, a hip-hop group focused on rap. But that doesn't mean that they don't need proper vocal training. I just see a lot of people try dragging Bangtan with their mediocre vocals, but everyone knows this already, and it's one of their strengths, actually. So, shrug. I think Jimin's vocals are used for the wrong thing. I think his high notes are strained and at some points just completely unnecessary. What comes to mind? But somehow this always seems to imply that he can't sing when that isn't true. It's just that when you let him do his own thing, he actually sounds pretty good. But Big Hit doesn't do that for whatever reason and still lets him do the high notes. They aren't as bad as they used to be, or maybe I've gotten used to them, but they're still not good. Speaking of Jimin, can he finally do his own thing too like the rest of Bangtan? No one mentions it because everyone loves Jimin for other reasons, but I'm pretty annoyed that he doesn't have his own show, so to say. Hoseok has Hope on the Street, Jungkook has his covers and music recs, Namjoon has music and Kim Daly, Uni has his album reviews, Jin is Eat Jin and food recipes, and Taehyung has, if he ever bothers to do that again, covers and #Taehyung music. But Jimin? Zero. But somehow he's still involved in almost everything, like when he featured on Hoseok's birthday vlog or constantly tweets support for JK when he covers something, etc. I really want him to do something on his own once. I don't even care what, might as well just him talk about whatever comes to his mind. Compared to SLA and DNW, I think HIIPT1 has much more filler songs, so to say. Like Converse High or Boys with Fun. Musical-wise, to me, they just sound generic and not really like the Bangtan I know or like. That's a similar reason why I just really dislike For You, because it might as well be any boy group performing it, and that's definitely not the reason why I like Bangtan. HIIPT2 doesn't suffer from the same problem, thankfully, though I think Fallen Leaves and Mars City are pretty average to okay. Run is a million times better when you don't think of the choreo. Seriously, the choreo's just really unfitting. Once I stopped associating the song with the choreo, which was hard. I had watched almost all of the live performances. I actually ended up adoring Run, a month and a half after it got released. The NRG influences sound good, so does the flow of the song, and overall the background music isn't as static, but unfortunately not as hard-hitting as in Inu. I hope that bangtan, one day, has no concept at all, and just does their own music without thinking of a public image or anything, like Western artists. I know that there is a long way to go for that, but I think that way, we'll get much more sincere songs and lyrics. And the youth concept was a pretty good start for that. From what I see, ever since 2014, actually, bangtan focuses on a public-friendly sound, and it's why there's so much difference between their B-sides and title tracks ever since SLA, both lyrically and musically. The only exception being Hi PT1, because like I said before, some songs sound just so filler. I think Hosey Auk sounds better in most songs than Namjoon and Uni, but this is more personal preference than anything else. Whenever I have a song I don't really like at first, it's Hobie's rap that makes me like all of it, like Tomorrow, Blanket Kick, Danger, Rain. The Hi MV trilogy isn't that deep. At all. If you read this interview, you'll notice that Lumpens tries to focus more on the album and feeling rather than the song itself in bangtan's MVs. Ultimately, the Hi MV trilogy showcases youth and feelings, rather than an actual coherent story overarching all of the characters. And no one actually dies, that's just metaphorical. I get weirdly sad anytime I think about how bangtan seemed to be much happier in 2014 than last year. I guess it was stress-related and I can't blame them. It was a wild year for sure. I get also really sad when I think about how it was anti-fans, and also fans too, probably, doing that. Namjoon's pretty obviously depressed. Drift, Life, Voice, his rap Inland 52 are more than enough to tell. Unpopular opinion? Based on this thread, looks like mine is a real unpopular opinion. But I think Jin's voice isn't great at all. I think he's trying too hard and it comes out really nasal. And can we talk about Rapman's personality? I feel like he's not even trying to exist in any videos. He's more dead than Sugar, who claims to be lethargic. Don't get me wrong though, this is as bad as it gets and I still love them all the same. This is true, for Bombs. I feel like the older RM gets, the less he cares about being on when he's backstage. A lot of times in the BG of Bombs, you can hear him making weird noises or singing tholol.